Joining me live on PTV tonight is Dr. Katch Ononuju, a lawyer and public affairs analyst, to look into some of the happenings, especially with the Plateau killings as well as the Benue killings. Good evening and welcome to PTV tonight.
Thank you very much. First, I want to correct you. I'm not a lawyer. I do not know why television around the country keep referring to me as a lawyer. I'm an economist. I am also a research fellow. I'm a distinguished fellow at the Heritage Center. I'm also the Director General at the Heritage Center. Yes, now to your questions about the killings. The killings have sustained because of the ineptitude of the present administration. It's also not about just ineptitude, because I believe that the security services do possess the capabilities to actually put this to a stop in 48 hours if the body language of the president allows them to do their work. So I agree with both the board of editors of several newspapers, including The Sun and others, and the Amnesty International, that President Buhari's behavior, he's not allowing the security services to do their job in regards to the persistent security reports that blames the Miyetti Allah is the reason why the killings have sustained. And if you look at it historically, these killings I see as what I call a Fulani reaction to the consequences of democracy. Do not forget, we were colonized twice by the British and of course the Fulanis over the Hausa states. We had independence, the British left, but as I speak to you today, the Fulani still colonize the Hausa state. So we now have democracy, and over 19 years of democracy, you're now beginning to have indigenous aboriginal populations within the Middle Belt, the areas impacted historically by the British interior mission to the Sudan. They are now beginning to exert themselves overland, because over 19 years of democracy, people now have been imbued with strong freedoms to be able to exercise rights over land. Don't forget, the Fulanis were able to introduce Sharia over the Hausa states where they dominate. So why can't these people, the Jukuns in Taraba, the TV, the Igede, the Idoma in Benue, the Biram, the Taruk, the Bokus, the Angas, the Angwei in Plateau, be able to exercise rights also. So I believe the long period of democracy has brought about new freedoms, and this indigenous population are now beginning to exercise such assertion of rights over land. The Fulanis are not comfortable with this, and as they react violently, the president, due to his ineptitude, has not been able to lead from the front, because if President Buhari had at the beginning allowed the security services to act, to nip this in the bud, it will not sustain. So I agree 100% with Amnesty International and several newspapers in country that say Buhari is complicit in the killings because he's not allowing the security services to do what they should do. If President Buhari says that this should stop, I bet you in 48 hours the killings will stop everywhere. Because if you're not able to punish those who killed yesterday, others will kill tomorrow, believing there's nothing to be done. So I believe the only way to stop it is for President Buhari to lead from the front and allow the security services to stop this, because you can go on, whether you like it or not. This is the first time in 104 years that the Fulanis have become a challenge in Nigeria in 104 years. So, and I believe this is honestly the consequence of democracy. You can't stop this. So it's like allowing a young girl to get to the age of 19. This is the age of the democracy. She will, of course, exercise some qualified independence, and that's what you're beginning to see over the Middle Belt. The Tangali do not want this. The Biram, the Angas, the Bokwais, the Angwei, the Taruk, the TV, the Biram, the Idoma, the Igede. You also have the Jukuns. So if you see people like General Danjuma, who acted in the 60s on behalf of the North, now saying the Christians are being killed. Of course, that's a strategy to make sure the South gets, to hear that we are all together in this. But this is not a problem between the Muslims and the Christians in Nigeria. There are no problem between Muslims and Christians. What you have is a Fulani nationalistic strategy to expand. And the problem is, we're not having Fulanis of Nigeria do this. These are mostly Fulanis who come from Mali, who come from Mauritania, who come from Niger and Chad, trying to come in to take land. The country's laws on land is very simple. You don't own land by just putting cows on the land. No, you buy the land, and when you buy, there must be a witness. So this is a problem, I believe. The president tried to seize land from people across the country by saying national, what do they call it again? National Grazing Commission. Yeah, and they said, this cannot be. He said, ranching. They said, look, if you ranch your work, the Land Use Act puts the lands in the hands of the governors. And they say, it cannot work without governor. But the governors cannot give what they do not own. Because why? Most of the governors are actually first-term governors, and they can give that land and go back for election. The populations will not allow, because Africans, Nigerians, are very emotionally tied to land. And even if you give the rest of Nigeria to the Fulani, they won't accept. If you do not give to them the areas with moisture, and these areas are the Benue Valley, and of course, the plains of Mambila and the Gembu. And in this, you cannot give that. So this is the problem. I believe President Buhari is not sincere. If he's sincere, let us get the states on the buffers. Kebbi, Zamfara, Katsina, Kano, Sokoto. Let them agree. As the cattle will come in from Mali, Niger, and Chad, stop them on the buffer states, and then spend money to put water. Because if you do not put water, the cattle will stay. The cattle need water. So if honestly President Buhari is sincere in trying to help the Fulanis who bring their cattle into Nigeria from the border states, let him ranch those borders and then trap the cows as they come into Nigeria. But he must provide water, because this is the problem in the borders of states. If you don't provide water, the herders will take the cows into the hinterlands in search of water and moisture. And if you bring them into the hinterlands before the farming cycle is complete, you're going to run across farms that have not yet been harvested. And when that happens, the way you invest in your animal husbandry agriculture is also the same way Nigerians invest in their crop-based agriculture. And those who tell you about grazing land, they're just being foolish. If before Abuja, where we are today, was free land, bush, of course you can come graze and there's no problem. But if society have decided now to build on those lands hospitals, schools, roads, airports, it's bullshit what the Minister for Defense says, that because the Akure Airport is built on grazing land. It's not true. There's nothing like that. You don't build in Akure and wait for the benefit of somebody that will bring cow from Mauritania, from Mali. No, it's not. Nigeria is a sovereign state. The interest of people from the sub-region should not undermine our national planning truth.
Okay, now that you agree with the Amnesty International's reports, now how do you think the government or the president would have reacted security-wise? I mean, many have said rejig your security apparatus. Many have said, I mean, sack your chief. Many have said so many things. What exactly, I mean, in one or 2 points, would he have done security-wise to show his interest that he wanted to nip this in the bud?
Well, security-wise, President Buhari also exhibited nepotism. And this is a nonsense. You put idiots around you who simply react to what you think you call your body language. They wouldn't do anything deciding as Nigerians. They will simply decide how would the master think. Can you imagine a Minister for Defense telling properly, legally constituted House of Assembly to rescind the laws they've made? Why didn't he say Sokoto, Katsina, and Kano to rescind their laws on alcohol in regards to the Sharia edicts. So these things don't really make sense. We are Nigerians, and we are not saying nobody is part of it. We know Plateau is historically the home of those people. Don't forget, Jos and Kaduna became empty after the indigenization decree forced the British to leave Jos and Kaduna. Before now, the Fulani were mostly in Bauchi. The Hausas who left Bauchi funded the Auchi, and the Fulani never came in. Before now, during the days of the British, the Fulani only lived in Tede Pulade and mostly in settlement along the Toro Bauchi Road. Suddenly now they are fighting that they want to seize Barakin Ladi, that they want to seize Ungonduze, that they want to see. How can that be? You're fighting Hausas in Anka, in Nangobe, in Ensadau, in Malele, Amaru. How are you going to win? You're fighting the Bagi in Briningwari, Pandagari, Alawa, and Kagara. You cannot win. You're fighting the Jukun in Bambila and Gembu. You're fighting the TV in Logo and Goma. You're fighting the Ibira, the Igala, also in Kogi. How are you going to win? The problem, I believe, the Fulani elite have failed to provide guidance for their people in regards to the consequences and challenges of democracy. President Buhari, as far as I'm concerned, is the reason for the sustained killings. If he can lead from the front and allow the security services to prosecute those who kill, no one else will kill. It's as simple as that. The Miyetti Allah has been, as President Buhari confessed, bringing people from Libya and wherever they can be to come here and do this. And I believe this is not the best. I believe the president should lead. He should do the things he says, because his behavior and his inability to lead and the ineptitude of the administration is actually demonizing the Fulani population. And I know very well, not all Fulanis are in agreement with the nonsense that's going on. So this has to stop. Nigeria is for Nigerians, not for Malians, not for Mauritanians, not for people from Chad or Niger. Nigeria is a sovereign country. Buhari does not respect it, and this is why a lot of us are not with him, because he has abandoned the directional principle in regards to the Nigerian state and the enterprise of the Nigerian Union. He is now thinking as a fully nationalistic figure. This is wrong.
Okay, let's look at this now from the angle of reprisal attacks. I mean, we've heard some Fulani herdsmen. We've spoken to a few of them. We've spoken to the Miyetti Allah people. We've spoken to some people who have some sort of soft spot for these Fulani herdsmen, mainly Fulani people, and they have said that there were times they were attacked, the people were killed, the people were being kidnapped, you know, and asked for ransom because they are herding a large amount of cows, which they think, you know, is so much money. So these locals, the Birom, the TV, and all these people that they are terrorizing today used to, you know, like abuse them, you know, used to like terrorize them. Now they are seeing this as some sort of reprisal now.
That's nonsense. The laws of the country are very clear. The car I drove to the studio could buy 700 cows. So if my car is lost in Jos, I should go and start killing people. How? That's nonsense. Property is property. You can't compare cow to human life. Well, that's not a like reprisal. This is just crappy. Let me tell you what I think is going on. Historically, every kingdom established through the shedding of blood. To maintain control, you need to shed and kill more people. This is what the Fulani are doing. The same violence they've used to keep the Hausa down. As I speak to you today, no Hausa man is emir anywhere in Hausa land. Understand that? And no Hausa man is member of the Miyetti Allah. So the Fulani have refused to assimilate other people. Now, after 19 years of democracy, indigenous population in the areas impacted by the British interior mission to the Sudan are beginning to feel that we actually are now free people, and they are asserting rights over land. Why should we kill them in reaction to that? Don't damage my land is as simple as the Fulani's instructions of don't drink in Kanu in the open. So why should you now try to kill them? Because they said, respect the laws, anti-open grazing bill. President Buhari is undermining Nigeria. As far as I'm concerned, Buhari is the most dangerous thing to democracy in sub-Saharan Africa.
Okay, let me ask you this quickly now before we move to the other story. Now we hear that that many people have also faulted the media for improper reportage, especially from the Fulani aspect. They are saying we are not carrying reports that have attacks on them, but when people who are perceived to be from their own group carry attacks, the media, quickly carry it, and all that there is some sort of imbalance.
No, what you have is the
reportage.
Nigerian media is reacting to the shedding of blood. If you say cows were rustled, cows were stolen, cows were killed, the laws are very clear. The Fulani elite should understand the laws of the country. Go to the police. Let the police do the proper investigation. There are places you catch these people at abattoirs. Yes, if you have a rustled cow, if the head is rustled, the ways you catch them are plenty. They will bring pregnant cows to sell, and you can catch them because no real herdsman will sell a pregnant cow. You bring a young infantile cow to sell. Say no real herdsman will sell a calf. There are ways to pinpoint these things. Why kill? The law is there. If I lose my car in a particular place, I'll go report to the police. If armed robbers came to my house, I'll report to the police. Why should the Miyeti Allah take laws onto their hands?
But they have denied comments about.
They have not denied comments. Listen, they might try to deny what happened last weekend, but they have been known to publicly be on television to say they are doing this because of the blockage of their roots. Listen, Nigeria has changed. Nigeria has grown. In the places that used to, and that, whether you like it or not, democracy has changed the country. There are places that used to be bush today. Hey, in 40 years of Abuja, Abuja has built up.
But don't you think there is a political tone to all of these killings?
There is a political tone. Buhari is weak, and that's a political. He thinks he can be polite to the Miyeti Allah by closing his eyes to the evil that they commit. That is the politics to it. And another political part is, because of the growth of freedom, people are now able to complain against the Fulani. It's never been this way in 104 years. This is unprecedented. It's historical. So what I will advise Buhari and the members of the Miyeti Allah is they should wake up and accept that Nigeria is changing.
Okay, yes, thank you very much. I will still have here Dr. Katch Ononuju, who will be sharing with us. Now, away from the bloodletting, now let's talk politics now, especially as regards young people and they're not too young to run bail. Do you think, or what was your take when the president signed the not too young to run bail?
It was inevitable. It's not about what do I think. It's the way it is, and that's why I thank my friend Tunungulu for spearheading the thoughts of the young people to be on the ballot. Nigeria has 70% of its population are young people. We are home to the highest concentration of people between the ages of 11 and 19 than anywhere else in the world. And this is a problem. But then, unfortunately, because of the legacy of Alamanjiri, you also have the highest concentration of children without access to formal education, and of course poor people, because once you don't have access to education, you remain poor. You do not have any chance. So if our country is home to the highest concentration of children without access to education, our country must be home to the highest concentration of poor people than anywhere else in the world. Don't forget, democracy competes on two levels. Upstairs, the political competition; downstairs, the economic competition that brings the benefits from the competition within the larger space. So they're not too young to run. It's a polite lowering of the bar that allows young people to enter politics. So the bar has been lowered in some places by as much as 10 years, the entry-level age, before you can run for governor, you can become a senator, a member of House of Rep, and also for the presidency. If we could be hailing Mr. Macron in France, hailing Trudeau in Canada, we should allow the bulk of our best educated generation to be available for service. You understand me? A lot of the problem we have is the older people who have remained, like in the North, is a patriarchal society. Most of them are not properly educated. So allow the educated population, which is the bulk of the young people, to actually come and serve Nigeria. If they are writing software, if Emeka Cheruo's hopscotch software could be bought by Apple for more than $1 billion, let us have more Emeka Cheruo's to come run Nigeria. This is part of the problem the country has. Have too many old people who do not have the new ways to employ social chemistry and mechanization actually running the game. So they're not too young to run. For me, it's about one of the best groundbreaking laws to come out of our democracy. It further allows for more opening of the doors for more Nigerians to actually get in to the gate of politics.
Do you think young people are ready?
Yes, young people are ready. Young people are told that the only barrier that stops them from gaining access is cash. I don't think so.
But this will increase godfatherism.
Well, it's not going to increase. If you have, at the beginning, few young people who get in, as the time goes on, more young people will get in. And don't forget, you do need to inquire. You do need to make yourself available. If you don't get there the first time, you might get there the second time. If you have 20 young people competing and 3 other out of the 20 or the 25 people competing are 20 young people, and then you have 3 elderly people, who told you the young people, if they come together, they cannot defeat that old man? We can't take our country back. Just as you're saying, people are asserting rights over land in the Middle Belt. It's the same way young people can combine to assert right to the political stake. So I do not think it's a good thing. Let's have a beginning. As we say in the village, set forth at dawn. If we start angling for political positions from a very young age, if we don't get it the first time, we'll get it the second time. But once you make yourself available, it simply means that you'll get it very soon. So it's a good thing for us to do. It's a beautiful law for the country. It's a groundbreaking pronouncement by our democracy. And I thank my friend Tony Nwolo, good friend he is, for actually having the courage to do that. Okay, just like people like Tony. He's young. Who knows where he will stop? He came here from Oshodi. It's all up. Hey, when we get young and we get into politics, that means the space is secured. He will be more tolerant when he listens to another young person talk to him. Old people wouldn't even like to come to Tony. That's why young people are today's disruption engines. And I love their being available within the political process.
Thank you very much. I have been speaking with Dr. Katch Ononuju, an economist, researcher, and public affairs analyst, joining me, sharing his thoughts on topical national issues on PTV tonight. That's the much we can take. Many thanks for watching. I am Daniel Waboso.